The text message glowed on my phone screen, simple yet surreal. "Hey Mateo, wanna come over for a movie night? My dad's picking the flick. Jaden." My heart skipped, not because of Jaden's invite, but because of him. Mr. Ellis, Jaden's father, the man whose quiet intensity had haunted my thoughts for months. I was 25, a graphic designer scraping by in Seattle, and I had no business feeling this way about my best friend's dad. I met Jaden Ellis 2 years ago at a local art gallery where my designs were on display. He was a 24-year-old barista with a quick laugh and a knack for making everyone feel like family. We bonded over late-night talks about comic books and jazz, and soon I was a regular at his house in Capitol Hill. That's where I first saw Marcus Ellis, Jaden's father, a 47-year-old architect with deep brown eyes and a presence that filled a room like a storm cloud. Beautiful, unpredictable, and a little dangerous. He was a single dad, widowed 5 years ago when Jaden's mom passed, and there was something about the way he carried his grief like a weight he'd learned to balance that drew me in. That night, as I walked up the steps to their craftsman-style home, my palms were sweaty despite the crisp autumn air. Jaden opened the door, his dreads tied back, his grin wide. "Yo, Mateo, you made it. Dad's got some indie drama lined up. Hope you're ready for subtitles." I laughed, but my eyes darted past him, searching for Marcus. He was in the living room, adjusting the TV, his broad shoulders outlined by a fitted navy sweater. When he turned, his gaze locked onto mine, and for a split second, the world felt too small. "Mateo," Marcus said, his voice low and warm, like a vinyl record spinning on a quiet night. "Glad you could join us." His smile was polite, but there was something else in it, something that made my stomach twist. I nodded, muttering a thanks, and sank onto the couch next to Jaden, who was already rifling through a stack of DVDs. Marcus sat on the armchair across from us, his long legs stretched out, his fingers tapping lightly on the armrest. The movie started, an Italian film about forbidden love, and I tried to focus, but Marcus's presence was a gravitational pull. Every glance he sent my way felt like a question I didn't know how to answer. Halfway through the film, Jaden's phone buzzed. He groaned, checking it. "Work emergency," someone called out. "I gotta cover the late shift." He looked at me, apologetic. "You cool staying? Dad's got snacks, and the movie's just getting good." My throat tightened. "Stay? Alone with Marcus?" "Yeah, sure," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Jaden clapped my shoulder, grabbed his jacket, and was gone, leaving me with the hum of the TV and the weight of Marcus's silence. "You liking the movie?" Marcus asked, his eyes still on the screen. I nodded, fumbling for words. "It's intense. The way they're hiding how they feel. It's real." He turned to me then, his gaze piercing. "Hiding how you feel," he said softly. "That's a universal story, isn't it?" My breath caught. Was he talking about the movie or something else? Before I could respond, he stood, heading to the kitchen. "Popcorn?" he offered, and I followed, needing to move to break the tension. In the kitchen, under the soft glow of pendant lights, Marcus handed me a bowl of popcorn, his fingers brushing mine. The touch was brief, electric. "Mateo," he said, his voice quieter now. "You ever feel like you're carrying something you can't tell anyone about?" I froze, the bowl warm in my hands. My life hadn't been easy. Growing up Latino in a conservative small town, coming out at 19, navigating a world that didn't always make space for me. But this pull toward Marcus, a man 22 years my senior, my best friend's father. It was a secret I hadn't even admitted to myself. "I do," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "All the time. His eyes softened, and for a moment, I saw the man behind the storm cloud, vulnerable, searching. He stepped closer, the space between us shrinking, and my heart pounded so loud I was sure he could hear it. "Sometimes," he said, "the things we hide are what make us human." The air felt charged, like the moment before a lightning strike, and I wondered if he was about to say more or do more. But then the front door slammed open. Jaden was back, his shift canceled. The moment shattered, and Marcus stepped back, his expression unreadable. "Guess we'll finish the movie," he said, casual, as if nothing had happened. But something had. Something that shook me to my core, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew about myself, about Marcus, and about what might come next. The next week was a blur of restless nights and overanalyzing every glance Marcus had given me. Had I imagined the intensity in his eyes? The way his voice softened when he spoke to me? I tried to focus on work, sketching logos for a new client, but my mind kept drifting to that kitchen, to the almost moment that felt like a door cracking open. Jaden, oblivious, kept inviting me over, and I kept saying yes, hoping for another chance to understand what was happening. On Friday, Marcus texted me directly for the first time. "Mateo, I'm hosting a small get-together tomorrow. Just a few friends, some food, maybe another movie. You in?" My hands shook as I typed back, "Sounds great. I'll be there." Jaden hadn't mentioned a gathering, which meant Marcus had invited me himself. The thought sent a thrill through me, laced with guilt. Jaden was my best friend. How could I feel this way about his dad? The get-together was at their house, the living room filled with a mix of Marcus's architect colleagues and a couple of Jaden's co-workers. I recognized Sarah, a 30-year-old trans woman who worked with Jaden at the coffee shop, her vibrant energy lighting up the room as she debated sci-fi films with a guy named Leo, a 28-year-old non-binary artist with a shaved head and a sleeve of tattoos. Marcus moved through the crowd with ease, offering drinks, his laugh deep and genuine. But every time our eyes met, there was that spark again, like a secret only we shared. As the night went on, people drifted to the backyard, leaving the living room quieter. I lingered by the bookshelf, pretending to study the titles, when Marcus approached. "You're quiet tonight," he said, leaning against the shelf, close enough that I could smell his cedarwood cologne. "Just taking it all in," I replied, my voice unsteady. He tilted his head, studying me. "You're different, Mateo. Not like Jaden's other friends. You see things." My cheeks burned. "What do I see?" I asked, half challenging, half desperate to know what he meant. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached past me, pulling a book from the shelf, a worn copy of Giovanni's Room. "Ever read this?" he asked. I nodded, my heart racing. Baldwin's novel about love, identity, and forbidden desire wasn't just a book. It was a mirror. "It's one of my favorites," I said. "The way it captures longing." Marcus's eyes held mine, and for a moment, I thought he might lean in, might bridge the gap between us. But Sarah's laugh broke the spell, and Marcus stepped back, handing me the book. "Keep it," he said. "I think you'll get more out of it than I will now." That night, I lay awake, the book unopened on my nightstand, my mind replaying every word, every look. I was falling for Marcus, and it terrified me. Not just because of the age gap or Jaden, but because I didn't know if Marcus felt the same, or if he was just a lonely man reaching for something to fill the void left by his wife's death. The thought gnawed at me, but so did the hope that maybe, just maybe, this was real. The days that followed were a tightrope walk between desire and doubt. I started noticing Marcus everywhere, in the way the Seattle skyline reminded me of his architectural sketches, in the jazz playing at the coffee shop where Jaden worked, in the quiet moments when I sketched and wondered what his hands would feel like holding mine. I kept Giovanni's room on my desk, its pages a silent confession of the feelings I couldn't voice. But every time I saw Jaden, guilt twisted in my gut. He was my anchor, the friend who'd seen me through breakups and job rejections, and here I was dreaming about his father. The next invitation came unexpectedly. Not from Jaden, but from Marcus again. "Mateo, I'm working on a project at the firm, a community center design. Could use your eye for aesthetics. Lunch tomorrow?" My pulse raced. This wasn't a casual movie night or a crowded party. This was just us. I agreed, telling myself it was professional, but the butterflies in my stomach knew better. We met at a small diner in Fremont, a quirky spot with mismatched chairs and a jukebox humming Motown. Marcus was already there, seated by the window, his gray blazer rolled up at the sleeves, revealing strong forearms. He smiled when he saw me, and it was like the sun breaking through Seattle's eternal clouds. "Mateo," he said, standing to shake my hand, his grip firm but lingering. "Thanks for coming." Over burgers and coffee, he spread blueprints across the table, explaining his vision for a community center that would serve queer youth, a safe space for kids like Jaden, and, I realized with a pang, like me. His passion was infectious, his voice steady but alive with purpose. "I want it to feel like home," he said, his eyes meeting mine. "A place where people can be themselves, no masks." I nodded, my throat tight. "That's beautiful," I managed. "I could design some murals, maybe. Bright colors, bold lines. Something that says, 'You belong.'" He leaned forward, his gaze intense. "You get it, don't you? What it means to need that space." I swallowed hard, thinking of the years I'd spent hiding who I was, the fear of rejection that still lingered. "Yeah," I said, "I do." For a moment, we just looked at each other, the diner fading away, the blueprints a flimsy excuse for whatever was building between us. But then his phone rang, Jaden asking where he was. Marcus's face shifted, the warmth replaced by something guarded. "I should get back," he said, gathering the blueprints. "But let's do this again. Your ideas, they're good, Mateo." I watched him leave, my heart a tangled mess of hope and fear. Was I reading too much into this? Or was Marcus feeling the same pull I was? The next few weeks were a dance of stolen moments. Marcus would text me about the project, but our conversations always veered into something deeper. Music, books, the weight of living authentically in a world that didn't always make it easy. One evening, he invited me to his office to review some mock-ups. Jaden was out with friends, and the firm was empty, the city lights sparkling through the floor-to-ceiling windows. We sat side by side at his desk, our shoulders brushing as we pored over sketches. "You're talented, Mateo," he said, his voice soft. "You see beauty in things most people miss." I turned to him, my breath catching. "You do too," I said, my voice barely audible. His hand rested on the desk, inches from mine, and I wanted to close the distance, to feel his warmth again. But the weight of Jaden, of the age gap, of the unknown held me back. "Marcus," I started, but he shook his head, his expression pained. "We can't," he said, his voice rough. Not yet." The yet hung in the air, a promise and a warning. And I left his office that night with my heart in my throat, knowing we were teetering on the edge of something unstoppable. The tension between us grew, a silent storm brewing with every glance, every accidental touch. I couldn't stop thinking about Marcus, his quiet strength, the way his eyes softened when he spoke about Jaden, the way his voice cracked when he said, "Not yet." But Jaden was still my best friend, and the guilt was a constant shadow. I started avoiding his house, making excuses when he invited me over, but Marcus's texts kept coming, each one a lifeline I couldn't let go. One rainy Saturday, Jaden cornered me at the coffee shop where he worked. "What's up with you, man?" he asked, his brow furrowed. "You've been ghosting me." I scrambled for an excuse, but his eyes narrowed. "Is it my dad? Did something happen?" My stomach dropped. "No," I lied too quickly. "Just busy with work." He didn't look convinced, but he let it go, and I hated myself for the half-truth. That night, Marcus called me. Not a text. A call, his voice low and urgent. "Mateo, I need to see you. Can you come to the house? Jaden's out." My heart raced, but so did my fear. What was I walking into? I drove through the rain, the wipers a metronome to my racing thoughts. When I arrived, Marcus was in the living room, pacing, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "I can't stop thinking about you," he said, the words spilling out like a dam breaking. "It's wrong, I know it is, Jaden, the age difference, everything, but I can't." I stood frozen, my jacket dripping onto the floor. "Marcus," I said, my voice shaking, "I feel it too, but Jaden, he's my best friend." Marcus's face crumpled, and he set the glass down, stepping closer. "I know," he whispered. "I've been trying to fight it, to be the man Jaden needs, the man I'm supposed to be. But you make me feel alive again." His hand reached for mine, and this time I didn't pull away. His touch was warm, grounding, and for a moment, the world made sense. But then headlights flashed through the window, Jaden's car. We sprang apart, my heart pounding as the front door opened. Jaden walked in, his eyes flicking between us, suspicion hardening his features. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice sharp. Marcus started to speak, but I cut in, panicked. "Just talking about the community center," I said, hating the lie. Jaden's gaze lingered, but he nodded, heading upstairs. The silence that followed was deafening, and Marcus looked at me, his eyes full of regret. "We need to figure this out," he said, "for Jaden's sake, for ours." The next few days were torture. Marcus and I agreed to keep our distance, to give ourselves time to think, but every moment apart felt like a betrayal of what we'd admitted. I threw myself into work, sketching murals for the community center, pouring my confusion into bold lines and vibrant colors. But Jaden's suspicion lingered, his texts shorter, his invites less frequent. I knew he sensed something, and the weight of it was crushing. One evening, Sarah from the coffee shop invited me to an open mic night at a queer-friendly bar in Belltown. I went, hoping for a distraction, and found myself surrounded by poets and musicians bearing their souls. Sarah performed a spoken-word piece about her transition, her voice raw and powerful, and it hit me hard, her courage, her refusal to hide. I clapped until my hands hurt, but my mind was on Marcus, on the life he'd built with Jaden, on the risk of shattering it. After the event, Sarah pulled me aside. "You look like you're carrying the world, Mateo," she said, her eyes kind but piercing. I hesitated, then spilled everything. Marcus, the movie night, the almost kiss, Jaden's suspicion. She listened, nodding, then said, "Love's messy, especially when it's real. But you can't live a half-life to protect someone else's feelings. Talk to Jaden. He deserves the truth, and so do you." Her words stayed with me, a beacon in the fog. I texted Marcus that night, asking to meet at the community center site, a half-finished building on the edge of town. It was late, the construction site quiet under a starless sky. Marcus arrived, his face etched with worry. "Mateo," he said, his voice raw. I don't know how to do this. I don't want to hurt Jaden, but I can't stop wanting you. I took a deep breath, Sarah's words echoing. We have to tell him, I said. If this is real, we owe him that. Marcus nodded, his jaw tight, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Not of me, but of losing the life he'd built. We drove to Jaden's apartment, my heart pounding with every mile. Jaden was home, sprawled on the couch, a beer in hand. When he saw us together, his face hardened. What's this? He asked, standing. I looked at Marcus, then back at Jaden, my voice trembling but steady. Jaden, there's something we need to tell you. It's about me and your dad. The words hung in the air, heavy and irreversible, and I braced for the storm. Jaden's eyes widened, then narrowed, his fists clenching. What the hell are you talking about? He demanded, his voice rising. I glanced at Marcus, who stepped forward, his hands raised. Jaden, please, just listen, he said, his voice steady but laced with pain. Mateo and I, we've developed feelings for each other. We didn't plan it, and we've been trying to figure out how to handle it without hurting you. The room felt like it was closing in. Jaden's face contorted. Shock, anger, betrayal all at once. You're my dad, he spat, turning to Marcus. And you, he said, pointing at me. You're supposed to be my friend. How could you do this? My chest ached, but I forced myself to speak. Jaden, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you, but what I feel for Marcus, it's real. And I couldn't keep lying to you. Jaden paced, his hands in his hair, then stopped, his eyes blazing. You think you can just drop this on me and I'll be okay with it? My dad, Mateo? He's twice your age. What's wrong with you? Marcus stepped closer, his voice breaking. Jaden, I know this is hard. I've spent years trying to be the father you deserve, to keep our family together after your mom. But Mateo, he's brought something back to me I thought I'd lost. Jaden flinched, like the words were a physical blow, and I saw the weight of his mother's absence in his eyes. For a long moment no one spoke. Then Jaden sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. I need time, he said finally, his voice muffled. I can't deal with this right now. Marcus nodded, his face etched with grief, and I felt tears prick my eyes. We left, the silence between us heavy with the wreckage we'd left behind. The next few weeks were a limbo of pain and hope. Jaden stopped texting me, and Marcus and I kept our distance, giving him space. I poured my energy into the community center murals, painting stories of love and resilience, each stroke a prayer for forgiveness. One day, Sarah stopped by the site, her smile soft. You did the right thing telling him, she said. It's hard, but truth is the only way forward. Then, one evening, Jaden texted me. Meet me at the coffee shop. We need to talk. My heart raced as I walked in, finding him at a corner table, his expression unreadable. I'm still mad, he said, his voice low. But I've been thinking. My dad, he's been different since you came around. Happier. And you've always been real with me, even when it hurt. He paused, his eyes meeting mine. I'm not okay with this yet, but I don't want to lose either of you. Tears welled up, and I nodded, unable to speak. It wasn't forgiveness, not fully, but it was a start. That night, I met Marcus at the community center, the murals glowing under the work lights. Jaden talked to me, he said, his voice thick with emotion. He's trying, and I want to try too, Mateo. With you. I took his hand, the weight of the past months lifting just a little. Then let's try, I said, and for the first time, I felt like we might build something real. Not just for us, but for Jaden, for the community, for the messy, beautiful truth of who we were. The community center opened a month later, its walls alive with my murals, its rooms filled with laughter and stories. Jaden came to the opening, standing quietly by Marcus's side, and when he caught my eye, he gave a small nod. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Marcus and I stood together, our hands brushing, and I knew that whatever came next, we'd face it together. Honest, open, and unafraid.